So today we're going to start a new shelving project. Do you remember we had these cupboards, didn't we? And the first ones to arrive was two cupboards here, and then we turned them across the top up here, in the middle, put a piece of wood across, bolted it together, and we started with that, didn't we, up against the wall. And then we got these tubs donated. We came across these tubs. So we had to make shelving for the tubs, didn't we? And then we cleared out this corner, we dug it out, cleared it out. And then we made that set of shelves, didn't we? And do you remember, we used expanding foam. It's held up really well. I was really surprised it was going to support it, and it seems to have supported it so far. So far, so good. And we made that little bit of a shelf, but we discovered that we needed more shelving. So we moved along a little bit, didn't we? And then we made some new shelving. Yeah. And we did this step with concrete because you've got to remember there is a step behind here. Behind that, it's not just a straight wall. It is part of making the wall was a step. So anyway, we did this. So we started with that. We did that. We decided we want to do this. But then, I don't know if you can see, but the wall turns in here, changes direction. So before we could even continue making the that move, do you remember we did the concrete, we made the mix, we made it level with on the back there, and we put a whole load of concrete in here so that we had this is the straight face of this now, this face is straight there. Well, we'll see in a minute when we start. Anyway, so now we're going to come across here. We're going to make a shelf here. This is our neighbour's wall. So we're going to have to build another wall in here. So if we chose, or if a neighbour decided to take that wall down for whatever reason, perfectly entitled to, in effect, it would leave a hole here. So we need to put a wall. We need to build a wall here, don't we? So that, yeah, that's my neighbour's wall. We need to build one here, just on the inside here, to make it to be our wall, to close off the end, as you might say. I can't see a situation, but it could arise, couldn't it? So it needs fixing. So anyway, and then we'll bring it back and we'll come this way again, maybe at another time. So for now, we're just going to clear all that crud from there, clear that area away, do here, put the board up there, see how straight we were, if we were any good, and make a plan for the end there, and then build new shelves up here. That's the plan anyway, yeah. And it's been the plan for quite some time. We're way behind on this. We're probably 8 or 9 months. We should have continued when we had the chance, but anyway, now we're going to get on with it. So let's see how we get on. Let's tip that first and let's have a look what we're doing. So, who remembers all that wonderful, fantastic timber we had? And it was up to here, as far as you could stuff it. It was all in there, wasn't it? And slowly but surely, we've ate our way through it. But we've still got ample timber to what we want to do. Put a couple of shelves in there. We haven't decided the depth, so we're going to stick to jar sizes. Let's get there first. Let's get this bottom in. Do you remember here? We had to make a false level of a bottom here. Basically was sort of put the wood on mortar, make sure it was level. Because we dug a load out, it was quite uneven at the bottom there, wasn't it? I don't know what it's going to look like. But we'll have to start with the bottom board and then work our way up. So anyway, let's begin. I have to remember, move everything from there over to here because we're going to have to get access to this. So we can't put nothing on this side. We can block the door. We can lane it up against there into that corner. And then we'll work on that. How did we do with this corner piece? Do you remember? The building moves, doesn't it? So there's the end of that shelving unit. And here, there's where the wall changes direction, comes towards us. So we did this, didn't we? We shutted it up and filled it full of concrete. That's going to make them nice, and at the same time, it helps, it locks that shelf into place. Because we were putting nuts and bolts, we know there's a lot of weight going to go on here, so it's not likely to, not now, push itself apart. We can get away with, what would you call them, not popper joints, Reggie joints? We can get away with that now, can't we? Because this, no way is that going to move. And we've bolted it up to the roof as well. So how level, how straight was this? Although we did it in bits of wood, didn't we? We did it in several lifts, didn't we? Yeah. So let's have a look. As it turns out, not very level. Hold on. That level-ish. Bit more. That's dead level. So, in Reggie's world, okay, if you're an engineer, that's a big gap, but there's nothing we can't deal with. We'll put the wood in level and we can shove a whole load of concrete in there, or actually, when we're done, expanding foam would go in there, wouldn't it? And fill that gap. Because remember, the wood is going to be like this, isn't it? Do we cut that off? Or do we leave that there? Just drill a hole in the board. That's going to be like that. So there's our edge. I'm quite happy with that. So this back wall isn't very level, isn't very straight. And let me tell you why this back wall is here. As you can see, it's made up in several layers and several mixes. Yeah. And the reason I did it, twofold really. There was a step here. See, that's a step. So we leveled it up with the existing wall that was in there. So what we did was, this is leftover concrete mixes from whatever we've been doing somewhere, project, a job. Wanted to get rid of it, didn't want to put it in the car, didn't want to send it away. It's all rubbish, it's all, you know, tins, glass, all the garbage mix that's in the floor. What I did was just make a shutter and put it in here. So first of all, it strengthened the wall, and second of all, because this wall is the outside, if somebody did want to break in, they'll get a shock because they think they're going through a block. They're not. They're going through a block and going through a Reggie defence. So the whole of the back wall of this garage has been defended in that way. Defended was a secondary use. The first use was, what am I going to do with all this garbage? Do I want to put it in all wet, sloppy, concrete mix? You know what you get. You get leftovers, don't you? So as you can see, that's one piece, isn't it? And then I've come and done this bit, and then I've done this bit, and I've got the bits of wood, and this is another lot that I've just mixed up and thrown in. This was maybe the last lot we did to try and level up the top here. If you remember, we come up again, don't we? So we'll find our own level on this. Wherever the shelf, this might need to come up to match something whenever we get there. Whatever level it is, it looks like it's sort of sloping down. Is it sloping down? Yeah. It's got a good slope down. So we've got to fix that, haven't we? So no doubts, this will have to come up. We'll start in the bottom, we'll put a shelf, and deal with this when we get there, which is what we did here. We put that there. We decided the shelves go in there, so we brought the back up to meet it. Same as here. We filled in the back to match the piece of wood that we put in there. It's a 4x2. Yeah. So I like to make it as we go along. So right, the board's got to go down here. Fine, clean that a bit. Put that in. What's the floor doing? The floor could do with coming up a bit there. Yeah, that's no problem. Bit of mix under the board. That'll be fine. We've got to come away from the wall. Yeah. So there's no point putting the board there because you see, you foul the wall. So the face of the board has got to come out enough as we come up. Look, it misses. It's quite wide on the bottom there, isn't it? There's a bit of a chunk here. We're not going to cut it and mess with it and go to all that aggravation. We're just going to bypass it. We've got plenty of room to just move it forward. So put the face of it there, sort of thing, and fill in the back as we get there. But we've got another change of direction here, haven't we? What are we going to do with this change of direction? Are we going to keep it well short so that when we bring the next one in, are we going to cut the next one in across here, or are we going to put a wedge on the next one that comes in here? Sort of, you know, the next lot of shelves are going to be like this, aren't they? So, do we build the shelves with a cut in to the thickness of wherever this is going to land? So this is going to land about there. With an end board there. We've got to watch that light. We're not going to mess with electrics. We're going to bypass them. So we're going to keep away from there as well. So, and of course we're going to leave enough room to build a wall here. As well as, yeah, there's got to be a wall across there, hasn't there? So we might just, all of a sudden, let's measure the wood. Now, this length will be determined by how many shelves we've got and how many lengths of wood. So if it means cutting one in half and having a slightly shorter shelving unit, that's okay, because we've made the most of the wood that we've got. You don't really want to use your boards and have to cut you know, 2 foot, 3 foot off the end, because that's 3 foot for the next board. So let's count our boards. Let's measure the boards. Let's see if they'll go in half lengths to get 2 shelves per lift, you know, 2 lifts per board of wood. So let's do a bit of jiggery pokery counting. That's got to come up, hasn't it, to make it level, because we're not going to knock anything down. We're going to build everything up from, because that's the end of the shelf anyway, so that can be as high or as low as we want. But from, even if we filled it there and then went level across, we've got that to do, haven't we? Now we've got to decide what we're going to do with this corner and the floor. Did we decide the floor? Yeah, we've got to put a bed on this floor, haven't we? So the first board we go down, we know we'll be level. Yeah. So first job, sand and cement, lay the first board down, determine where the ends are going to be. So let's get the boards out, let's give them a count, and then let's give them a measure, what will fit, what won't fit. So we've got about 70 inches to play with, give or take. Just 70-ish, 6 foot. Okay, 6 foot. about the playing area, and as always, the wood you're going to use is 8 foot, 2 foot. You have to cut off. And if it was 4 foot, then you get 2 shelves out of that, 2 lifts, wouldn't you? So 4 foot would bring us 3 foot would bring us there. This is actually 6 foot. So what are we going to do? How are we going to make that work? The next question is, do we want to put the sandblaster box there? Now it won't really affect the car because the car doesn't touch, so we can afford to have it sticking out a bit. So we're going to bring the sandblaster here and use that as parts, take up that space. Then we could lose that, couldn't we? And also there is the parts washer next door. So I want to get rid of the car parts washer, bring it round here, and then turn where the parts washer is into smaller shelves, because Taps and Dies narrow shelves, these are made for the glass jars and they're made for those jars, different size. What are we going to put here? Are we going to put bigger shelves, just like shelves, not for anything specific? So how are we going to incorporate? We could put this at a height that we can work with, make a false bottom. Now you see what I did. For the time being, I put this over the back and that was sitting on there, and I put a set of legs forward and the parts, the sandblaster was able to sit in there. Are we going to do the same? Except that's a bit high. Yeah, I don't mind bringing it down and lower, because we'll still be able to move in and reach, won't we? So what are we going to do? And how wide is this, did we say? The other one, this parts washer, is about 3 foot, just under 3 foot. And this is 2 foot-ish, give or take the thickness of the wood. So 2 foot would bring us here. Plus parts washer brings us to 5 foot. So we could just make an altogether and take the legs off the parts washer, put the parts washer on a shelf. But it means pulling the shelf way back, doesn't it? It means bringing the face of the shelf out to here, which in on itself isn't a problem, particularly. What are we going to do? Now we can see it. What are we going to do? Parts washer and a take the legs, no, sandblaster, a couple of shelves underneath it coming up, and then another upright, and then the parts washer. Take the legs off the parts washer, turn the parts washer purely into a little shelf, a little unit on itself, so they come up to the top here nice and level. Box this off, turn it into a nice level behind wherever they land, and then end up with a small shelf here. What do we think? Shall we go and get the parts washer, see what it looks like? Let's put that there first, see what that looks like, see how much space we need in and around it. That's going to take that much space up. Ooh. And the parts washer will be much the same, won't it? Yeah. Got to remember the air connects in there, so we're going to make a gap for the air to go in, not as an afterthought, or not put the shelf so we can't get at that. So, I don't think it's going to sit. Well, it should be heavy enough. Here we'll put a thing across. Does that mean we have to put a double thickness of shelves in to sit these on? Let's have a look. So this sandblaster is 19 or so inches deep. Wow. Does that mean we have to put a double shelf in to sit it on? It's going to come out quite a bit, isn't it? We can put it back similar to that on a set of legs on top of this shelf, and if we get to it we'll have to make a step here so we can step up to use it, but it still doesn't get us round the parts washer. Or are we going to scrub that idea for now and kick the can along the road? This parts washer, this sandblaster and parts washer then could go across this wall, because we've still got to come and do something here sometime in the future. So are we going to just do shelves here and live with that for the moment, and then move them, and then we have to incorporate them in this next, whenever we get round to doing the next set of shelves, we'll have to incorporate them in, won't we? Yeah, scrub that. That's going to cause us too much aggro, and we haven't really got the depth, have we? Where we've got the depth to come this way, because the back of the car only comes sort of here up against the rubber, so we've got plenty of depth here to play with. Put them up. I think we'll keep that. Yeah, scrub that. We're just going to make shelves. Yeah, I think what we're going to do, we're going to go down to 4 foot. We'll make a 4 foot shelving unit here, because that will make the most use. These are 8 foot. 6 foot is fine, but then you're losing too much, aren't you? So, and it's only going to give you 2 lifts, 2 shelves. But if we cut them in half, make the most use of what we've got, make that a 4 foot. We've got ourselves 4 lifts, haven't we? So 4 lifts brings us 1, 2, 3, brings us to the top surface here, doesn't it? So 4 lifts, 2 boards, quite wide ones, making maximum use of what the material we've got, and then we'll put a surface on that, or whatever it'll do, combined a board, or like we did before, we just put like a concrete lid on the top, didn't we? I think it's going to have to be a short one here. Yeah, come up with a plan. Maybe get some more of these. See if we could get one in there, or maybe 2 in there. How wide are they? Oh, I think we've come up with a solution. 4 foot shelves would bring us to here, which would make the most use out of the material we've got. So if we had a 4 foot shelf here, which leaves us that gap, and we thought that was 6 foot, didn't we? Well, these cupboards are, look, are a foot wide. These cupboards are a foot wide, so that gives us 2 foot to be able to put 2 sets of cupboards here and then sort out the corner. So I think that's, yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll get 4 lifts out of that, put 4 shelves here, deal with the top when we get there, and then get 2 of those, one either side there, cracked it. Woohoo! I think we've found our way. You see, you have to build. You don't have to have a fixed idea in your head. Make it as you go along with what you've got. Think about everything. Make maximum use of everything you've got. Yeah, we've got plenty of boards, but don't waste them. Use as little as you can. Then you've got plenty of wood left to do the next job, the next project, the next whatever comes along. And remember, we've got to work our way across here with some sort of an idea, haven't we? And we've got a lathe buried into there. So, we'll see. We'll see. So, yeah, 4 foot and 2 of those cupboards on the end. Or could we do a cupboard and a set of shelves and another cupboard? Would that look? That would look quite nice, and that would allow us to put one cupboard on the top, so we get 3 of them. 1, 2, and then 1 across the top here. I think that's the way to go. A cupboard, a 4 foot set of shelves. 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5. There. Then another cupboard. Then we can come up then, can't we? And then we can put another one on top, joining them 2 together. Cracked it. Oh, we've got a plan. We've got a plan.